AITA for embarrassing a man at a party and upsetting my friend? Recently, I went to a party with a friend, I'll call her L, where I didn't know anyone else but her. Usually that would be an absolute no for me, but she really likes a guy, let's call him J, who was going, so after some begging I agreed. While she was talking to the guy she likes, a man started to talk to me. It turns out this was the host of the party and a close friend of J, but I didn't know this at the time. He asked what I do for a living and I said that I have an art business. Without asking any follow-up questions, he immediately started talking about how if I'm not harnessing the power of social media, my business is doomed to fail. The thing is, I get all my business through social media and have almost 300K followers across different apps. I tried to explain that I do use social media, but he cut me off. He went into a rant about how he has a very successful Instagram account and how I am probably following wrong and outdated advice. He went on and on about content strategies, SEO, and everything else which I all know about and use successfully. I know I should have probably stopped him there, but he really wasn't giving me time to reply to anything he was saying. By the end of his almost 10-minute rant, it probably wasn't that long, but it sure felt like it. A few other people nearby were also listening. At this point I was annoyed, so I asked him, "If you are so successful, could I see your Instagram page so I can learn some more tips?" His account had around 20K followers. He told me to show him my account, and if I have potential, he can take me out for dinner and teach me his secrets. I showed my Instagram account, which has over 150K followers. A couple of people around asked to see and were complimenting my work. Some of them laughed when they saw the difference in followers between us. He mumbled something I couldn't hear and walked away mad and embarrassed. He went to L and J. L came over to me upset, saying I embarrassed her for bragging about my follower count and that I should just leave. I really don't like to brag about my followers. I know it doesn't mean everything and I'm so grateful for every follower I have. I was just really annoyed in the moment. L texted me later, saying I should have just ended the conversation before it got to that point or made it clear that I knew what I was doing, because by letting him talk for so long, it was embarrassing when he was just trying to help. Some of my other friends laughed and said I did nothing wrong and that he was the one trying to brag. I probably should have just interrupted him at some point, but he really didn't give me a moment to speak. I also would have tried to be more tactful if I knew this was a close friend of the guy my friend likes. I did apologize to my friend, but the guy has now been giving her the cold shoulder, so she's still upset. AITA? Should I have handled this differently? Relevant comments. NTA, you didn't embarrass this guy. He embarrassed himself. Honestly, you were passive in this whole encounter, it sounds. He requested to see your account, and you honored his request. Fragile fucking male egos, man. Subscribe now, before we proceed to our next story. I got summoned for injuring my neighbor's kid who hurt herself on my property, USA, California. I was served with a paper to be summoned in small claims court, and I am being sued by my neighbor for $10,000 in damages. Long story short, my neighbor's kids, around 6 years old, were playing on my front yard without my knowledge or consent, and one of them climbed onto my water fountain. I heard a loud crash and I found out that my fountain was destroyed and it toppled over on top of the child. I had to call 911 since the kid was bleeding badly. Now, here we are, as I just got served with papers to show up at court. My neighbor is making up excuses, saying I failed to secure my fountain, and that it was a tragic accident waiting for it to happen. They are suing me for damages and medical bills for their child. What should I do to prepare myself? Is there any counter-argument to that, especially since it was private property and the kid should have never been climbing on my fountain in the first place? Relevant comments. I think they would have to prove it was an attractive nuisance, which I guess means if your fountain looked like a water slide you might be in trouble. But otherwise, second, homeowner's insurance. Oh nope. It was something similar to this. I also had a recording of a video that shows the front door of my house. The kid was playing on top of my fountain for 3 minutes with no sight of the adults until it toppled over. Parents were nearby but was not paying attention to the kids. Maybe this video would help me claim that the adults should have enough time and warning to tell their kids to not climb on top of the fountain? Like, you're so perfect. Have you had the fountain for a while? Or is it new? Have the kids climbed on it before? If it's been there for a long time and they've never climbed on it before, it seems like it would be tough for the parents to prove the attractive nuisance angle. Oh, the fountain has been there for a while. At least 5 years. I have secured the top piece of the fountain and the second level with Gorilla Glue to ensure that wind won't just blow it over, but never would I imagine that a kid would climb on top of it. Plus, the fountain was surrounded by rocks and flowers, and they have to walk over those things before being able to touch the fountain. Update November 15, 2017, 3 months later. So long story short, my neighbor sued me for $10,000 in damages. I also countersued and wanted my neighbor to reimburse me for any court paperwork that I had to do, the fountain he broke, and the time I wasted. The judge concluded that I was not responsible for injuring my neighbor's kid, and that the fountain was properly secured to the best of my ability. I also showed him the video of the kid playing on top of the fountain before it fell. Judge told the parents that ultimately it was their responsibility to look after their kid, especially when the video showed over 3 minutes of the kid playing on top of the fountain before the collapse. They knew their kids were playing on the fountain and they did not tell them to stop. Judge rewarded my request for the damages to my fountain. Now my neighbors are hating on me. Just weeks ago my house was egged on Halloween, away from the view of the camera, and I was the only house that was egged. Very suspicious that I would be the one house that was egged and know the position of the camera unless I have shown it to them. Like in court. Are there any ways to protect myself? On to our next story. Don't forget to like this vid. AITA for putting on a do not disturb sign at my door? I, 25F, work at home for 5 years and had been supporting my family with my dream job. I pay all the bills consistently and even buy groceries once in a while. I live with my mom, 59F, who's a housewife all her life, and my brother, 44M, and SL, who both don't have jobs but does labor work in the house. My job pays well while I'm at home, and I genuinely like and thrive working in a peaceful setting where I'm not interrupted for 8 hours a day, so I confine myself inside my room, which also serves as an office. My mother is aware that I dislike being bothered, but occasionally she just barges into my room to talk, gossip, do chores, etc., which is really quite distracting and makes it easy for me to lose focus. I think I got ADHD, but I'm yet to be diagnosed. I've recently gotten the idea of making my own do not disturb sign after my niece had a birthday party in the house. It was noisy, so after interacting and buying the kids snacks, I've locked myself in my room, put on headphones, and became very productive with no disturbance at all. The sign I've made says, "Do not disturb. Please contact me in Messenger," to make sure I'm still accessible when needed during work hours. The problem. Earlier today, our electric wiring got fixed, which means I cannot work for a few hours with no lights on, so I took a nap. When I woke up, I saw my mom messaged me asking me to reimburse her the money she spent for the wiring. When I came out of the room, I asked her if she needed the money now. She replied, "If you please," in a very rude tone, which took me aback. When I returned in my room to resume working now that the lights are back, I can hear her ranting why do I need to lock the door for, and that I don't need privacy. I didn't listen further because I am honestly hurt. I have nothing but a good daughter for the family. I pay the bills monthly without any help from the family members. They still went ahead to gossip about me just because I've locked the door while working and getting mad for wanting privacy. AITA? The house is tense right now. I'm still in my room at the moment balancing what I should do. Thank you for listening, and please be gentle if I'm in the wrong. Relevant comments and take. There are 3 adults taking advantage of your generosity, yet can't be bothered to respect your time. All 3 of them should have jobs to pay their own way in life. It certainly isn't your responsibility to make their lives easy while you work hard. OP. The sad thing is that I'm the most competent in the family. I've worked and studied, never got trouble, and I actually love my job. My mother is the traditional conservative type who doesn't have her own job because she's the housewife. My brother doesn't have a job but does labor in fixing the house, and my SAL takes care of my niece. Since I'm the one with the job, the financial responsibility falls onto me even though I'm the youngest in the family. Why are you still living with them? Do you live in a country? Note, I am not asking about your family's culture, but that actual country you live in. I don't a shit what your family thinks is proper, where a single woman cannot live on her own? If not, get out. I love who your mom is, a traditional conservative type. yet has no qualms with taking money from her youngest daughter. Another one says, move out. If you can finance a whole household with 4 adults, you can afford yourself a small apartment and possibly a 4-legged furry roommate. Get a 1 to 2 bedroom. If one, make sure there's space for your office setup, and enjoy yourself some peace and quiet. They expect you to pay the bills while working 8 hours a day while possibly neurodivergent, and then they tell you that you don't need privacy to do so? No thanks. Move out. Just do it and don't even tell them about your new place. You'll love it there after a few weeks, I promise. On to our next story. Gentle parenting is sad to watch as a retail worker. Second edit. Again, I'm sorry I called it gentle parenting. I'm not a parent and I don't interact with children often. I don't look up the latest parenting terms because I don't plan on having kids. It's just a venting stress relief post. Very standard setup. I work in a small clothing retail store in a mall. I am a supervisor and I was the only one at the till. Lady had some standard returns and purchase whatever. Her child, I would guess maybe 5 or 6 years old, was playing with a bracelet set while we did our transaction. We finished up, lady said, okay, give the bracelet to the lady, let's go. Child actually did give it back. I said thank you, they went to leave. Mom leaves, child comes running back into my store to look for the bracelet. Mom comes back to look for her. Child ends up crying about how she wants the bracelet. Whatever, I figure, the parent is gonna handle it, none of my business. Until the kid comes running behind me and the tills trying to find the bracelet. Mom is just standing on the other side looking exasperated and saying in that gentle parenting voice, come on, we have to go. Kid trying to dig through my stuff. Bags, clothes, just whatever is behind the tills. I say to the mom, hey, if you want to come back here and grab her, that's fine. She doesn't reply. At that point I had to set in, there is sharp pins for security tags and stuff, and I had more customers to help. So as the kid was running to hide from mom, I stuck my arm out to block her. Holy crap, you'd think I broke her arm. She screamed so loud. Like that toddler ear-piercing wail. Where's her mom? Just standing there now looking mad at me and said, well, that was embarrassing. And just glared at me. Kid then bolted around my store again and had another screaming/crying fit on the floor. Again, mom just stood there. I'm not a parent, and I do understand the whole let kids have the tantrum idea. But I was under the impression you remove them from the upsetting situation. The joy of retail is though that I had to email my district manager the whole story just in case lady tries to say I hurt her child. Edit. Apologies for calling it gentle parenting. I'm not parent, so I don't know the terms other than what friends have told me. Third edit/update. I got a slap on the wrist from my DM because I shouldn't ever touch a customer's child. Next time I'll let them play in the bin of sharp pins. Fourth edit/update. Hopefully last update, lol. Turns out my DM more meant that she doesn't want me/other employees to intervene with children, because she would rather the company get sued rather than us personally. That makes sense. In the much more interesting update, when I went to work a different day, the same mom and child were in the store. And yet again, mom is on the other end of the store while this kid is trying to pull on our mannequins. I just looked at my manager and said, dibs out. She went over and told this kid to please not touch our mannequins. The mom then threw a shirt on the till and said, well, I didn't see anything today anyways. My manager is actually concerned this lady is trying to find a lawsuit, so she might get banned if she returns. Definitely my first viral Reddit post. Some of the comments made me lose faith in people, but that's how it goes. Thank you to people sympathizing with my suffering of working with the public. Relevant comments. That's not gentle parenting, that's no parenting. So many people confuse the two. To me, gentle parenting means no hitting, not yelling, no harsh insults. It doesn't mean never making your child unhappy. Children need to learn how to deal with life's little disappointments, not always getting what they want, not being able to do whatever they want.
Support me by following and subscribing. Thanks.